Okay, we're going to work with a parametric equalizer on the kick drum. We're going to keep our settings that we already did with the D1, the compressor. Now, we're going to explain some things here to help you understand how frequencies work in a way that most people don't conceive of and therefore end up with muddy mixes or problematic mixes. There's a little thing called psychoacoustics, which doesn't always equate with reason. We're going to show you an example of that. Now, let's take a listen to what we've got. That's with the compression on. And right now we're pretty flat here on the EQ, so let's take a listen. Okay, let's say all of a sudden we want to have a really fat kick drum, really punchy. We want to make it stand out and be a very important part of the mix. Most people would immediately go right here or right here, and they'd do some boosting on the bottom end. Let's have a listen to that. Now, keep in mind, these are pre-processed samples, which most are not to the degree that these are. And already we do hear some rumbling in that kick drum. Now, listening to the individual track, it's not necessarily a problem. But once that's in the mix, it may seem okay, but it may actually create problems outside of the studio. And low frequencies are often the most problematic of all. So that doesn't necessarily make it sound punchier either, just because we've boosted the bottom end. As a matter of fact, it doesn't have as much detail now as it used to. So what can we do? Now let's work with some EQ. And what we're doing here, once again, we're working with a pre-processed sample. Kick drum sample sounds pretty good. But we're going to show you that you can actually take a pre-processed sample, and if you know what you're doing, you can make it sound dramatically better without sounding overly processed. Now we're looking to make this kick drum something really punchy and fat, as we mentioned before. We want to make this kick drum stand out so you hear every single kick. EQ can help with that. Let me slow my mouth down. Now, the first thing that a lot of people would do is actually boost low frequencies in order to make it sound punchier, make it fatter. Makes sense. But because of that little thing called psychoacoustics, it may not make sense. And it may not actually give you the results you want. So let's do that. Actually, let's do some boosting here and see what it does. Now let's do some boosting. Nice and fat, eh? Now let me explain something. Just because something might sound okay by itself doesn't mean it's going to work great in the mix. Now what could happen with that, once you place it in the mix, and it would be even more true for live drums or for samples that haven't been processed so much, is it could create kind of a low frequency rumble in the mix by adding that, and therefore actually sound less punchy because it's creating some noise within the mix itself. So boosting low frequencies often is not the way to go. And as if you get into our advanced series, you'll see sometimes subtractive techniques actually can give you more punch. And we're going to show you one technique right now. I'm going to play this, and I'm actually going to take bass out. Now, within the mix itself, as it relates to other instrumentation, that would probably make it sound fatter, reducing some of that low frequency rumble. Now we've added the compression, and the combination of adding that compression and reducing some of the lower frequencies will actually make it dramatically punchier than the original sample. And let's take a look at that. We're going to turn off what we've added. And we'll switch it on and off. Let's hear the difference. Before. Now. Now that, my friend, is a punchy kick. Before. After. Oh, there's even more.